What's up, guys? Well, by now you've probably all heard the news of $20 billion worth of liquidations throughout the crypto market. Lots of people got hurt. Lots of people are in recovery. Lots of people don't know what to do. I don't really want to spend this stream going on about what happened because there's been lots of videos made on what happened and why. I think the best thing to do is probably focus on what we can do moving forward. So before we do that, I first want to hear from you guys. I want to see how you're doing. Let me know, like, what are your spirits like? Are you in good spirits? Are you okay? Leave me some comments in the chat and let me know. When we have big crashes like this, a good thing to do is just zoom out and see where we are. So I'm going to be doing that with you guys on this stream today. It is a weekend though, so we're not really going to be able to make decisions from today's stream, but we can start to plan ahead and get a bit of an idea of how long any sort of recovery can take. I can see you guys in the chat. Mimi's there, Gonzo, Leo, Adam. It's good to see you guys all here. I'm coming to you a little bit earlier today because, well, I figured you guys needed me, but I was on the plane when it all happened, so I had no idea what was going on. I didn't even have the Wi-Fi on. I was literally just chilling on the plane thinking everything was fine. I did actually look at the price before I took off because Friday night, if you know me, if you know this channel, on Friday US session is when I look to hedge my positions. And I had been in a short from earlier that week. And so I was looking to hedge a potential long into the weekend. And yeah, right before I boarded the plane, it didn't look like the move down was over. So I didn't do that. I just let it go. And then, yeah, when I landed, my phone was just going crazy. And I saw that, we had crashed below 105, which was, I'd always told you guys on this channel that there was a chance that the 105 liquidity would be taken. Didn't think it would get taken like this, of course, but I had made comments that I would rather them come and take it before we go to a new all-time high, because once it's wiped, we know it's wiped and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But it came much lower than that. And yeah, here we are. Certainly did not expect what happened with all of the altcoins, however. And yeah, not feeling like a big fan of alts. I think, again, if you know me, you know this channel, I'm not really a huge fan of alts anyway. I prefer to short-term trade them. This kind of solidified that, but long-term holding of alts, even people who hold them spot are hurt. So nobody really was safe from this. So yeah, I think I'm just going to stick to my strategy of short-term trading alts, and my main focus is always Bitcoin. So speaking of that, let's go and sorry guys, sorry. I forgot to say that whilst I was at Token, I got influenza A and I was knocked out for a few days. That's also why I had disappeared, but I'm not recovered yet. So I may break out into coughs every now and then. Yeah, sorry if that happens. But anyway, let's go and have a look at Bitcoin. Many alts broke their weekly structure completely, says DJ Monty. I know. Weekly Bitcoin candle will be important, should be interesting. Atom went to 0 on some exchanges. Yeah, I saw that. Is it over? Good question. Let's explore that together. Okay, so let's just oh dear. This might have to be a short stream, guys. But let's just explore this because so these were the major liquidation zone that we had marked out on this channel. Really, while price was in this whole range, it was always a risk that we would come and take it. We have taken it now, so at least that risk is removed. I actually first want to go to the weekly before we go to the daily, because when we really, really zoom out and get a look at the big picture, and sorry, for some reason my internet is really slow, and so it's taking a while for indicators to load. But you'll notice on the weekly time frame, this blue EMA is the 50 EMA. And any time that we've come back for pullbacks in this bull run, for Bitcoin in particular, we've held the 50 EMA on the weekly. So that is our one bit of good news at this point in time is that even with this big drop through here, we dropped above the 50 EMA. The bad news, however, is that that's a bearish engulfing. And we really have to pay very careful attention now to how the recovery sets up. So we do have one piece of good news, which is the fact that we have not yet broken the weekly time frame 50 EMA. When we go down to the daily, another thing that I'm kind of watching for now, oh gosh, I hope this doesn't take forever to load, but I'm watching for something similar to happen when, wait, maybe I need to close things off. No, it's okay. So when I have a look at this, notice how we range for quite some time, right? And then we had this spike down here. This is looking a little bit similar to me to what happened here when Bitcoin went sideways for months. So sorry, guys, we're going to have to wait for the candles to load. I don't know why it's so slow. Like this, I've only just turned my computer on since returning. I only got back into town yesterday morning. But yeah, so this here. So if you happen to remember, this was between March and August of 2024. And this was months where Bitcoin basically just went sideways and we were all really, really bored. And we kind of became accustomed to this range. But there was also large liquidity below at about 49. And so we were wary of that area at the time. And then we got that final spike low. Now, if it's going to turn out to be something similar to that, look how much time we had. So I know a lot of people are like, do we buy the dip? Do we buy the dip? But just look at this as an example, right? So pretend that's the wick that we just experienced a day and a half ago. Price after that moved out and then came back to repeat the low before it actually took off. The timing of that was about 31 days, I think. Yeah, 32 days, right? So, and this essentially was a W formation after these sideways drops. So something like that is possible at this point in time. But also one other thing, like I'm neutral, just to be honest, I'm neutral right now. I'm not bullish, I'm not bearish. I don't know if the cycle's over, I don't know if it's not over. All I'm telling you is what evidence I will be looking for to eventually make a decision. So something like this would give me confidence that the cycle is not over if something like this forms over the next month or so. The other thing though is I know a lot of people are making comments on X about the FTX crash and that, you know, that was the best time to buy, and the COVID crash and that was the best time to buy. But they weren't in the same parts of the cycle. And so I don't really think that that's a good enough excuse to me, because first of all, FTX was basically the end of the, like it ended the, what do you call it? The bear market. And COVID, we were in accumulation phase of the bear market. Like Bitcoin was just hovering around 10K for like a year, right? So it's different times. We're peaking out at the top of the bull market, potentially. Like it's not the same time. And so just as much as this could be an epic crash that looks similar to the COVID low one day, like it could also be what ends the cycle with a lower high that starts the bear market. So yeah, this is what I'm telling you. I'm just neutral right now. I'd love to say this is a buy the dip moment. I see positives, I see potential negatives, and that's telling me like, don't be stupid. You know, like just trade what you see. Right now, there's nothing to trade, so I'm not trading anything. But eventually, there will be more price action developed and we'll get a clearer idea of a new direction, and then we can get involved. But I just think that short-term trading is the way to go, because let me give you this example, actually. How can I do it? If you're in Discord, you will know this, but hang on, I've got to scroll back a lot to find it. Here. Okay, so in my Discord, I started in September, I think it was. I started a challenge just for my community where I told them that I was going to fund an account with $5,000 and I was going to risk $50 per trade. and I was going to show you how much you can grow your account if you only risk $50 per trade. And as time has gone on, I like post the P&L for this, and I think this was the first month I did 18%. Didn't take many trades, and I did like close a lot of my trades at break even and still managed to do 18%. Was that for, no, that was for the week, right? So with this particular account, I made a rule for myself that regardless of the trade that I'm in, like I take profit where I have my take profit set. However, if the trade gets to a 10-to-1 risk to reward, even if I think it's got more in it, I'm taking the profit because that's 10 times my risk. Like I don't want to be greedy. The goal of this account is to grow it. Now, out of all my accounts, like my real trading account, as well as this one just for the community, this one did the best because I had closed out my trades, right? I had collected that profit. They're short-term trades, 1 hour, 15-minute time frame, and they're fine. So, you know, it just goes to show that like when you small time frame trade, you're not in the market long enough to get wrecked. And therefore, that's why I just short-term trade alts, because this cycle, there just hasn't really been any alts that are worth just buying and holding. There just hasn't been, you know, as much as I wish there was, there just haven't been. So that's basically, anyway, that's my rant about it. That's how I feel moving forward. And probably like the market definitely humbled me. All of my bots got liquidated except for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. They're the only ones that survived. But again, my bots, I wasn't using my normal risk per bot. So yeah, it hurts, but I'm not out, you know, I'm not down and out. Like I can recover from my losses. It's fine. But, and when the time comes, I will set up new bots. But that was another lesson that I've learned was like, I was setting up bots because I knew that people wanted to copy them, and I was setting them up on altcoins that I would never trade. So yeah, the market's humbled me. Like I shouldn't have done that just because I wanted to open stuff for people. Like I should just stick to the stuff that I know well, that I know I trade well. And if that means I only have 4 bots going, then that's what it means, you know? So anyway, we all learn lessons from this. Those are my lessons. And so let's now go through what I will be looking for. So basically with Bitcoin, we know that that liquidity is now gone. So let's reset. I'm going to do, no, actually, I don't want to do it here. I just want to look here first. So this is the 3-day liquidity. So this is basically the liquidity that has built since the drop. Sorry. And so I do see that there's a pretty like large area here at around 107.5. There's kind of this pocket down here in the 105s and 106s as well. So one thing that could potentially happen, and obviously I don't know like how soon it will happen, but it is possible that we've come back to revisit part of this week. I'm not so sure we'll revisit all of them. And I certainly don't think we'll revisit the bottom of all of the altcoin wicks because like you guys said, like Adam went to 0. I don't think we're going to revisit that, right? My focus is only on Bitcoin. That's another thing, right? From now, like especially when you have a look at the dominance, like right now, my focus is only on Bitcoin. I'm not even thinking about buying dips. I think if you want to take chances and you want to get back in the market, you're going to be safer taking your chances with Bitcoin for now, and then let the alts recover. Let them give you more price action. This isn't a moment, in my opinion, to be trying to pick the bottom. This is a moment that you are better off buying on confirmed trend changes, even if that means you end up buying a little bit higher. That's better in this set of circumstances, in my opinion. So yeah, so let's focus on Bitcoin. What else do I want to say? I do want to say like, I don't want to go on about the past because I know sometimes people are like, oh, well, in hindsight, it's easy to say that. Like I get that, but sometimes going back through the past also helps you learn for the future. So I do want to just tell you this one thing before we move on, because it may help you for the future. And I'm not telling you this to be an I told you so. Okay. So the first thing is that whilst I was away at Token, I really wasn't monitoring price, but I did notice a few times that, you know, we were having this rally, and I was a bit skeptical about it. I didn't say anything for quite some time, but once this peak was in, I really was a bit like, I don't like this. And I just want to tell you why I didn't like it. So this was the point where everyone was like, yay, Bitcoin, new all-time high. And so then when I logged in and looked at it, I was like, is this a new all-time high for ants? Like, what are we celebrating here? And I got really skeptical because we had created an all-time high here. And then we created this one here, which was only a tiny bit above the first one. And then we created this one here. And so this is where I was like, I don't know about this. This isn't a sign of all-time high behavior. This is a sign of trapping traders. And I actually then went and put this in our Discord. I gave this eventually, once I found internet, I gave this warning. Where is it? Just here. I said, look, I have a really big issue with the recent rise and the bulls aren't going to like this, but I have to be honest, even if I turn out wrong. And so my issue here was with the peak formations high. Notice how every single one of them is only a small wick higher than the last. That's not new all-time high behavior. That's trapping traders behavior. Why BTC broke out this week and so far only ran to 126.2 is a problem for me. So we did get short positions, but that doesn't mean that like we didn't get wrecked. Like I had long positions, they all got wrecked. Even though I had my stop losses in profit on them, that I got liquidated. So somehow it skipped my stop losses, and yeah, what should have been stopped out in profit got liquidated. But that's life, man. What are you going to do? You know, at the end of the day, like I've got a friend who's, I'm just going to rant for a very quick moment. I've got a friend who's not in crypto at all. And I was telling her about this situation and how like I don't even know what to say to you guys today. Like I don't even know what to say, but I know I have to turn up. And she said to me, you know, she goes, the thing is like what you guys do is you take risks to have a better life. Like not many people will do that. You know, not many people will take that risk in hopes of creating a better life for themselves. And whilst this might be a moment that knocks us down, like that's a pretty big thing, because most people live their life in fear and never do the things that they want to do because they're scared, and it's what keeps people small. And you didn't do that, you know, like you guys are here. Yeah, you got, hang on, let me just, let me try and see if I can ban this message. I don't know how to do it from here, but anyway, if you guys are seeing that wallet message, just ignore it. But yeah, we're here, you know, we're here, we're taking risks, and this is the bad side of taking risks, but there's also really good sides. You know, it wasn't that long ago that we were celebrating trades in profit and all that kind of stuff. So with all good, there has to be bad that comes, and then you just learn from it, you know, and you move on and you just keep going. And so that's basically all we can do right now, you know. That's really all we can do right now is just reset, you know, and take it slow. Like my advice is to take it slow. Like I definitely have been humbled by this. I was thinking about this a lot. This has got nothing to do with trading. I'm sorry to rant, but I don't have friends, so I just want to talk to you guys. But, you know, I was thinking about this a lot, and I was thinking about how I think everybody in crypto got a little bit carried away prior to this. You know, there was a lot of like, if you go on Twitter and you go on YouTube, there's a lot of like vlogging of, you know, these expensive trips and these expensive cars and you know, buying these watches and all that sort of stuff. And like I feel like even I got a bit carried away. Like I don't have watches and cars or anything, but you know, like I over the last year and a half, I've really paid a lot of attention to my health, and I've lost like 25 kilos, and I wanted to start dressing better, you know, and like taking care of myself, and I was making that effort. And now I feel like what for? Like all I do is stay home and trade, so I don't really need to dress good. And like, but what a waste of money. So I don't know, at this point, I don't know if that's good or bad. Like you should celebrate obviously, but yeah, I just feel like people just got a little bit carried away, and I think like we all just got humbled, you know, and it's not necessary. Like this isn't what we should. Yeah, it's all fake, you know, and for what? Like how do we feel now, you know, like that? Yeah, anyway, I just feel like all these things are stupid, and maybe this reset is what we needed to remind us of why we're really here. And, you know, even like I got to the point where I was opening like really long-term trades, and then they were fine for a long time. So then I had nothing else to do. So I was like, oh, I'll just open another one. And then I'll open another one. Before you know it, you have like 10 trades open, and you can't manage all of that, you know? Even another really stupid thing I did, like this wasn't meant to go this way, but I'm just telling you, because if you know the stupid things I did, then you won't do them hopefully in the future. So I'll tell you about this practice that I have, which I really hope this makes sense to you when I explain it. But if it doesn't, don't just assume I'm doing something dangerous. Just assume you don't fully understand it. So let me just explain this to you. When you open a leverage position, let's just say you open a leverage position on 10x leverage, right? You have a certain amount of margin. So let's just say you want to open a $1,000 position on 10x. $100 is your margin. It's your money. So you've got $100 on that trade. Now, when that trade goes off into massive profit, but you don't feel like it's over yet, one thing you can do is, it's a capital protection plan, but most people don't know this. So one thing you can do is you can up your leverage to like 100x. At this point, it doesn't matter because you are so far in profit and you've moved your stop loss into profit, right? So you move your leverage up to 100x, and then you reduce as much margin as possible. So you can get that $100 margin down to like $10, for example. And this is what I usually do, but I didn't do it. And the reason you do that is for a couple of reasons. Once you start to trade with a very big account, it allows you to not have so much money on the exchange. So you will remove the margin. You've only used it to get into the trade. It doesn't change your profit or your loss in any way. It just changes the amount of margin that you have, the money that you're keeping on the exchange. So you can either then remove that and take it off the exchange, or you can remove it and go and use it on a new trade. So you're basically recycling the same amount of money. And so this is a practice that I've been doing for a long time. And what it means is that, let's just say you have $10,000 margin on one trade and you get to reduce that all the way down to $500. Worst case scenario, something like this happens, because like I said to you, my stop losses were in profit. Like, I managed my trades to the best of my ability. Shouldn't have happened to me, but this can happen. Auto deleveraging can happen. Things like this can happen. And so if it does, if something out of your control happens, which is what happened, then the worst that can happen is, instead of losing your 10,000 margin that you put, you only lose the 500 because you reduce the rest. And so, yeah, I didn't do that. So I ended up getting liquidated from good trades, because I was just traveling and I just wasn't thinking about it, and I just didn't think to manage my trades that well. So yeah, it got me pretty bad. But if you understand what I just said, then, and you're a bit of a higher time frame trader, like you hold your trades for a long period of time, then that is one good practice to get into. But just don't remove the margin unless your stop loss is moved well and truly into profit. But yeah, that could help you anyway in the future. If that made sense to you. If not, come into TTC and we'll explain it a bit better. Some coins went to the prices of 2020. Yeah, it did. Like like our bots were on 3x leverage, like you couldn't have been safer. And yeah, that could have happened. So, and even people saying they're only in spot, it is still bad. You can still lose everything on spot. Like if you can still do that. Like, let's take the same example. If you have $1,000 and you want to open a position on 10x leverage, you only have to use $100 of your 1,000. So worst case scenario, you will lose $100 in an event like this, right? If you had one trade and you only risk 100, but you still have $1,000 position. But if you're on spot and it went back to 2020 lows, like, and you bought not long ago, like you have to put the whole 1,000 on that position, right? Even though it's spot. And sure, you can wait it out, but what are you going to wait out 2 cycles just to get back to break even? Like, so it doesn't, whatever. I just don't, I don't think this is a cycle for spot. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Half my stop losses didn't work. Mine too, Tom. Mine too, my friend. Um, yeah. So anyway, what was I telling you about? We were talking something about Bitcoin. I think I was trying to look for something anyway, I think we were just having a look at small time frames. I don't know. This is random stream. If you're enjoying it in any way, hit the like button. But okay, let's talk about the scenario. Sorry. Sorry guys. Okay, so let's talk about the scenarios now. Let me just put this. I'll just put on 7 days because we basically have reset the market with what happened. Okay. I don't really have anything to say about that. I think we're at the stage where people are going to start to guess, but I don't think we should. I want to talk about two possibilities. So right now we're just consolidating. It's the weekend. That's normal. There is a chance that some of this week could get recovered and it could take time. There's a number of ways that could happen. So from here, we could create a H pattern that comes down. Now, the H pattern may not revisit the low. The first area to pay attention to is going to be about halfway of the wick. Let's measure that out. And I say that because the body has already been done, right? The candles are already lower than the body. So I kind of magically got it right here. Oh, hang on one second. There. So basically the daily range low, so about 107, 200 is going to be an area to see. Like we may come up first before down, but one scenario would be to look for a little bit of this H pattern sometime into next week. And that might be on the 4 hour, it might be on the 1 hour. I'm not really talking about time frames. I'm just talking about the movement to look for from now. So if we come back then we start to see buyers step in. Let's see, do we have buyers around there? We have buyers at 108 to 105. So 108 to 105. Yeah, it's going to be somewhere in that range. So that's where I would be looking for Bitcoin. And again, even if alts do a similar pattern, I just think we're better off letting taking chances again. If you want to slowly step back into the market, take the chances with Bitcoin first. You can always get into another altcoin trade later. They're just not stable. Like this whole thing just taught us how unstable altcoins and how illiquid altcoins are. You know what I mean? 200 EMA daily lines up with that 107 also. I'm waiting that wick to get half filled. Okay, so yeah, we're basically aligned. Retail whales who got liquidated may not be coming back. True. What I learned was having multiple exchanges backfires in these moments, trying to log into multiple accounts while positions need closing. Yeah, but they wouldn't have got closed anyway, Tom. Like even people who had low buy orders, price went below their buy orders and the buys didn't even get filled. It's never happened this fast. Like you've never had this much of a percentage drop in a couple of minutes. I still think diversifying is across exchanges is a smart idea because some exchanges go offline at different times, others don't. At least you can get onto something to make a decision. But this is not normal. And this is one thing I've told my community is don't try to make sense of this because this is not normal. Like this is a freak accident, you know, like we probably won't see something this bad again, maybe in our lifetime, we hope, but in our trading lifetime, probably not. Like this was really outrageous. And most people, even if you were awake for it, would not have been able to buy the bottoms because even buy orders just weren't filling. So yeah, all of this shoulda, coulda, woulda. I don't think it helps us. I think what we need to do now is focus on moving forward, and it is what it is. Like what happened. Dwelling on it isn't going to help us. Like, you know, I have a friend who got really badly done by FTX and just it took 2 years for her to get over it. You know, she's still getting over it to this day. And like, how does that help? You know, like we just got to pick up and move on. We know that we're paying in the, like, what is this? the gangster world of markets. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rules here. We know we're doing that. Like, we signed up for this, and sometimes it's going to pay off, and sometimes it's going to be painful, like now. But we're here and we're trying. You know, that's the main thing. It's a criminal act for sure. This is the greatest manipulation ever. Yeah, for sure. Look, it is, but it is what it is. Anyway, it can also be the thing that makes us more money in the shortest amount of time that out of anything we could possibly do with our lives. So there's goods and bads, you know. There's goods and bads. I was barely able to market close all my positions right before. Yeah, it was impossible. Natalie Miller says we crack on. Exactly. Every exchange, every dex, definitely not an accident. Yeah, I think it was some API thing. And anyway, whatever. We're not going to work it out. So who cares? Let's just work on what we can do moving forward. So basically that's one option. Okay. The H pattern is one option. Another option, which would be a lot more scary, I wouldn't like to see it happen, would be that this actually forms the left side of a, ew, why is that orange? Sorry. The left side of what is known as a half Batman, which basically means that will get left behind. So there's trap traders in this week. They're going to get left behind, and we consolidate for an extended period of time. And then we just shoot out fast, and we start a fast recovery because this was a fast move down. They're hard to get, which is why I said it would be scary, because price will just move away and you're back into FOMO thinking that you missed out. And the only way I see something like this happening, which is a high possibility, but the way I see something like that happening is if there is some tariff solution, basically. And one thing Pedro said, we were chatting a bit earlier, one thing to note is that Asia has a bank holiday this week, this Monday coming up, and so does US. That buys Trump more time. Okay, so it is possible. It's possible we have a boring Monday and then all of a sudden we get some sort of good news and bang, market just recovers. I don't think we can plan for this. I think this is going, if it was to turn out this way, that's going to be something that you have to be prepared to, lol, ooh, orange. That's going to be something that we have to be prepared to react on when it happens. Okay. So just know that, like, yeah, I wouldn't preempt it. One thing you can, I mean, I don't know. It's up to you whether you want to deploy money or not. I'm not making that decision for you. But if you think there's a chance that that could happen, or we could revisit half of this week, you can very low leverage or spot if you really want to spot, but you can stagger orders, right? So you can just start to, hang on. You can just like buy in anticipation of us coming back to 107 and then just have an invalidation. If we go below it, you cut your trade, you don't hang on to it. That's one thing you could do. And then if it goes out, then you're just buying on confirmation. But you would only do that on very, very low leverage, like somewhere between a 2 to 5x, and only if you have the capital to like put back into the market at this point in time. Right, no, I'm not saying do that right now because, like I said, it's the weekend. Wait for some sort of hint of something. Let's go and see if we have any hints on the 1 hour. Not really, but see, prior to anything coming out, the TBD system actually gave us the perfect entry because this is where we had our rises. We had the M formation at the high of the week. And this is where we shorted. A lot of the community shorted here. For others, we awaited the lower high. So there were a lot of shorts already open prior to this dump. And it was here before I boarded my plane that I was like, I'm not seeing any reversal signals here. So I decided to just leave it. But I mean, this was the Friday trap of all Friday traps. You know what I mean? Like, it was huge. So anyway, whatever. That's all happened now. Yeah, there's really nothing for me to tell you. There's no hints here right now. We're just consolidating after that large wick. Let's see what liquidity is around. Doesn't Monday first sweep the previous weekly low or high. Well, it could go, actually, let's measure that out in a second. Hang on. Look, there's a lot of liquidity around this daily range. Like really the 107, it really does have my interest. I would feel better to see what happened around there, but I'm also prepared for price to really just chop for quite some time because it takes time for people to get interested in the market again. Let's just see, where are these really high ones? Let's change this to 300. And also I believe the delta is super high. Let's check that. Yeah, the delta is 35 billion to the shorts still, meaning after this huge drop, people are continuing to open massive shorts. And so 35 billion, like at some point in time, they're going to have to take that back. So that's why I feel like if there's any good news that comes out, if there's anything that is like slightly bullish, the move up is probably going to be fast. So yeah, just be ready for it, if that happens. Yeah, okay, let me just read some of these comments. BlackRock bought 450 or 45,000 BTC at 105. Well, that doesn't surprise me at all. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about this. So what will happen this week then is let's measure out where the high and the low will be. So the high is going to be this wick right here. That will become that will become the high of the week, and this will become the low of the week right here. And then we need 50% of that range will be here. So right now we're under it. So 50% of the high and the low of the week is 113,900. So if we come up potentially as part of the false move week beginning, maybe look, they don't need to do a false move week beginning this week. Like there's enough traders in the market. Look, there's 35 billion delta. There's enough traders in the market. They can move in the direction they want to move in. But anyway, let's just say if there is a rejection there, then probably we will come down to feel a bit more of this wick, because the three levels act as support and resistance: the high of the week, the low of the week, and 50% of the high and the low of the week. And when the week opens, you're looking at whichever one the price is closest to, because that will be the first target. So right now, price is closest to what's going to be 50% of the high and the low of the week. So this is our key area to watch initially. If we break above and retest, it's the same story. So a move up, a rejection of it. So we don't break it. We come down and reject it. Usually you then anticipate that we're going back to the low of the week. But if we get above it and retest it, you will then anticipate that we're going back to the high of the week. So it's pretty close to price. It's a pretty easy level to be monitoring as the market opens this week. Yeah, Gonzo says, let the candle form. Exactly. There's really nothing for me to tell you about these candles right now, but levels are important. So just keep an eye on those three levels going into this week. What else is there? Retail has no capability of enter back. I mean, there's always another trade, Avrectomy. That's a huge range. Yeah, it is a huge range. When's the ETF approval thing happening? That's soon, isn't it? Well, I don't actually know if it's going to get delayed because of the government lockdown. That's one thing we don't know. It's due to be soon, but I don't know if it's actually happening on time. I wouldn't want it to go down to fill the wick at all. If it goes down to fill half the wick, it's bearish. Half the wick isn't, because half the wick is a higher low. But you're right, we don't really want it to fill the entire wick. 50% high low is also the CME close price. That's interesting. So that makes it a very important area to watch. BNB is flying. Well, what do you expect? You've got the biggest gangster in crypto in charge of it. What do you want? Anyway, The ETS mid-October, but yeah, it can be delayed. Yeah, exactly. All right, so what do we want to talk about with dominances? Nothing really, massive shooting up on Bitcoin dominance here. Again, I just think like focus on Bitcoin first. I know with massive altcoin dumps, everybody wants their altcoin positions, but there's time if you really believe in that stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. For me personally, just back to Bitcoin trading for a little while. Obviously, we were going to have this big spike and the total looks dead, really. What we don't want to see now is a run to the 50 and a rejection. That's going to be really bad. So we've had a breakdown and recovered the 200. We don't want to see a rejection of the 50 if we want our alts to recover. Stock market as well, bad. Stock market has yet to react, like Asia has yet to react to the tariff news as well, because it happened at market close, right? So we have to be really careful of that. And Asia's closed this week. So what do we got? Bank holiday for Japan on Monday, bank holiday for US on Monday. So that's a problem. Let's go and see what else Jared has said about this week coming up. Okay, so despite lack of scheduled news last week, Trump announced a new China tariffs on Friday that sent markets lower in a hurry. This is a good reminder that Trump announcements are likely to have a large impact on markets, especially while the US federal government remains shut down. As long as the US federal government remains shut down, we will only get private or Fed-sourced data. Per a BLS statement, it will publish the September CPI on Friday the 24th. The start of this week could be interesting due to a few factors. Japan has a bank holiday, US has a bank holiday, bond market closed, but US stock market open. Be prepared. Yep, we know that. Tuesday, Fed Chair Powell will participate in a moderated discussion about economic outlook and monetary policy. Has the potential to create volatility. Empire State Manufacturing Index on Wednesday, Philly Fed menu on Thursday could cause volatility given the lack of other news. Because of tariffs, these metrics have been bouncing around, making it tough for investors to trust the data. On Friday, Fed member Waller will participate in a discussion. US public company Q3 earnings report period starts on the 14th. To finish, Friday 17th, stock options expiry. This has played a key role. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up, but also there's also like unexpected news that like we don't really know at this point in time what major players could have been completely wrecked and taken out. You know what I mean? So we've got to be prepared for that as well, which is why I'm like, I'm not so sure that it's necessarily a buy the dip moment right now. Sorry. Just wait a bit. I would rather buy at higher prices because we still have to deal with the aftermath of everything. So yeah, not that I'm buying spot anything, but I'm just saying to open long positions again, I would rather buy on like confirmation of trend change than trying to buy the bottom. Bitcoin is the only thing I'll take risks on. The others I don't think yet. Everything else kind of looks the same. Ethereum, big daily range now. Wait for the indicators to load. But we took out this big area of liquidity right here on that wick. So that's wiped out. Ethereum did have lower ranges, but also let's look at ETH BTC, because when you look at ETH BTC, things don't look so bad. Let's go to the daily for ETH BTC. Hang on, my things will load in a second. I'm sure I still had drawings on this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I have not touched this chart at all, but when you look at ETH BTC, it's following the TBD system exactly. These are our 3 levels. We were expecting a pullback on it. This was an old thing from a last what do you call it, a last stream. And that's basically where I don't know if this one will happen or maybe the damage is done and we'll go there next. But at the end of the day, it was the 200 EMA retest, which is what we wanted. Now that we're there, all we really need to do is go to smaller timeframes over the next couple of weeks, like not necessarily days, and start to look for those hints of a trend change. And if we can hold this daily 200 EMA, it will still be bullish, but it is possible, because I just showed you there is liquidity even further down below for ETH. It is possible we come down more because we may still have this drop to go. So we'll wait and see on that. But either way, you know, a third drop might take us to this 50 fib level right here. It might even take us down here where we've got these 3 vector candles in a row. You know, at the end of the day, that's going to create a higher low overall. It's still going to be fine. I think ETH is strong. I do think ETH is strong. And really, like I said, don't participate until we have proof of a change in trend. But it looks okay to me. And what else do you want to look at? Probably you want to look at Sol, I imagine. Institution banks coming after us to create need for centralized exchanges they will control. You know, the most hated final rally we will remember. Yeah, but you know, I have this conspiracy theory that I say with my friends who have been in crypto for a really long time is like, we all, I'll come back to Sol, but like this has got nothing to do with trading or making money. It's just a sad theory. Sorry to bum you out. But basically, like, when those of us who've been in crypto for very many years, when we all first got into crypto, we fell in love with this idea that we could control our own money, right? It was about that before it was about anything else. And that's what we wanted to do. And it really felt like when crypto was a really small community of like just a few people were in it, it really felt like we had one-upped the big players, you know, like that's how it felt. Like, yes, this is the first thing that we could get involved in before they could, because they couldn't get involved. And we're like, finally, like it's an even playing field. It's, you know, it doesn't discriminate. Like anyone in the world can buy crypto, and everybody has an equal chance. And that's why we were all in it, you know, and it felt so good that we were able to control something financial, number one, but also to be in before they could. It's like, this is finally the time that their money is going to make us wealthier and not the other way around. And it felt so good for a little while, but this whole cycle hasn't felt that way. Like this whole cycle has felt like, oh, okay, we welcomed them in, right? That's number one. We wanted institutional money to pump our bags. So we welcomed them in, and it didn't matter that you were in crypto for decades. They're going to take it anyway, you know? And it felt really shit. It feels really shit. But I'll tell you one thing I'm really proud of, and like, I want you to seriously consider this because it goes against the crypto ethos. One thing I'm very happy about, and like when all of this happened, I thought, oh, at least I've done that, you know, is that this whole cycle, every month without fail, I take something out of crypto and I put it back in my bank. And I know we're not supposed to do that because we're supposed to hate the banks and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But when I think about my losses over the last few days, they are nothing. They are minuscule in comparison to what I've cashed out this cycle. And I just started building that as my habit because we all get into crypto to change our lives. And so then if you don't cash out, you don't actually change your life. Like we get in to change our life, but then we get stuck into this narrative of build Bitcoin forever and never sell your Bitcoin. But if you never sell it, you can't change your life, right? You actually have to use it in order to change your life. And so, yeah, it really gave me a little bit of a peace of mind when everything was happening and everyone was going crazy. And I was like, well, at least they can't get that because I sold it out. You know, I sold it out and I did things with it. You know, whatever, you guys know what I've done with my money this cycle. But But I really encourage you to do that, even if you're still building your trading account, even, you know, if like you haven't made the money that you want to make, just cash something out, make it a monthly ritual, because it's a good habit to get into anyway. And to know that they can't then get their hands on that, even if, when I say cash it out, even if you choose just to move it to cold storage, but you're not actually cashing it out to a bank, that's fine as well, right? But just take it off whatever they can get it from. Do you know what I mean? Like, just take it out of their control completely, and then you can never get 100% wrecked, you know? Um, yeah, like Zaid, I think that's how he said, bank it, park it in silver, but even that can crash, you know? Like, just take it out and just put it somewhere that no one can touch, that you know is absolutely 100% in your control. And you like, yeah, then at least you've achieved something for the cycle, even if like another event like this happens and it really hurts you, at least you've achieved something, you know? Traders need to pay themselves. Exactly. That's why I love closing day trades on Fridays, because it's like payday before the weekend. It feels really good. It doesn't matter if the trade could go even more and I could make more money. Like, it's payday, it's Friday, and you end up having a really nice weekend. Like, don't underestimate what these little practices can do for your mindset. It's not always about keep it in the market, put it back in, open a new trade, like money, money, money. Oh yeah, I made money off this long. Now I'm just going to bag flip short and just make even more money. Like, it's not, it gets to you after a while. Like, you've got to realize some things, you've got to take some money out of the market and bank it, Anyway, let's go have a look at Solana. So someone in Discord was joking with me before, because you guys know, if you watch this channel, I had this liquidity zone marked for a very long time, and I was wrong for a very long time, because initially price was like here, and I was hoping that it would break down, take this, then take off. And I'd said to you guys, not interested in Solana until it takes this liquidity. And then I was wrong, because it went up first, right? I'm still wrong, because that's what it did. It went up. But I can't believe it actually took that liquidity, because I thought it was never going to come for it. Like, I thought that was a pipe dream. And look, it ended up coming and wiping it out. So fresh slate. That's the good news, is that there's a fresh slate for all of these things, but just wait for price to develop now. The liquidity is wiped below price. You know what I mean? So buy fabulous feeling clothes. Yeah. Never went broke taking profits. Easy come, easy go. Yeah, okay. So I don't really want to go through a ton of coins, because they all basically look the same. Look, XRP's just, wow, man. What did it go down to? $1.18. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But look, I don't think wicks like this are going to get filled. That's the moral of the story. We just need to see how, I personally think that going into the new week, imagine this week isn't here, and just worry about the price action moving forward from like 4-hour time frame onwards, and just trade what you see there. Sorry. Just trade what you see there, because this is not normal. Like, yeah, it's not normal. Let's see where we've got liquidity for XRP. Yeah, see, there's not really anything down at the lower part of this week. So just take the price action from the following the week, I think. Okay, what else? I got liquidated on Sol because of Bybit, where it hits 800. Sorry to hear. Keeping everything on chain, no freaking banks, keep it in stables. Yeah, but stables can depeg. So I don't think there's anything wrong with diversifying. Look at Link. Yeah, crazy. $8. Insane. Aren't we considered the week at all? Well, I don't think on alts you should. I think on Bitcoin you should, but I don't think on alts. It's too big, and it was an API issue. It wasn't price. There wasn't liquidity down here. There wasn't buy orders down here. Like, yeah, this is you know, sometimes TradingView glitches and it gives you a wick and there wasn't really a wick on a certain asset on one exchange, but it's not there on others. It's like that, you know, this was beyond anything that we've can ever imagine. It's beyond TA, in my opinion. So I think, yeah, I'm ignoring altcoin wicks until I see what Bitcoin wants to do. Then I'll worry about it then, but I'm not worrying about it from now. If it turns out that it starts to matter, I will obviously update you and change my mind on that. For now, it's not a consideration. Aren't unfilled wicks an imbalance in the order book? Yeah, but like everything got wiped. Like it's not an imbalance, because an imbalance means there's orders one side and not the other. Everything got wiped. Like it's all gone, you know, like we're literally starting from zero. I quit trading. Well, that's what they want you to do, you know? And if that's your decision, that's your decision, but that's what they want you to do. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this random update. And yeah, I hope I gave you some sort of clarity. It is a waiting game. For me on alts, it's a waiting game. Bitcoin's going to be my number one focus for a little while. Wait and see how the market opens there. You absolutely have to keep an eye on all of a sudden news, especially from Trump. Is this Max Payne? Yeah, for some it's Max Payne. So yeah, just worry. My advice is to worry about Bitcoin first. Keep an eye on the 50% level when the market opens. See if we can reclaim it for a bit further of a recovery, not saying all-time high. If we can't reclaim it, we're probably going to come down. Keep an eye around the 107-ish region. And yeah, I'll be back when there's something a little bit more clearer to tell you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this random stream. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one.